Oh, I wanted to talk about age. We could talk about that. Do you guys want to talk about whether you get bad as you get older? Do you guys want to talk about that? I don't know if you guys want to. But we could talk about that. You have an opinion on that? No. I have a I have a take on this, and I think it's correct. I'm not 100% sure though. I would like to see some data. I could probably research it and support it. Okay, this is my take. I can just play this game and then we can talk about this concept, and then I get a game uploaded and me talking. So people can watch the game that I'm playing right now and we can talk about this concept, okay? But so the challenge is going to be, can I talk and play it well at the same time? Today we find out. So that means we're going to be autopiloting our build big time. So this is the idea, okay? So there's this big idea in video games, which seems to be supported by what happens, that like you're in your prime between like 18 to 20. And then once you're like older than like 23 or something, you're just washed. Like you're just bad. Okay, so that's the premise, right? And I want to... Okay, let me set it up more realistically. And there's a lot of different ideas about this. Idea number one is that as you get older, you have more commitments outside the game, so you don't practice as hard, and that's why you get worse. Or you rarely see players play into their 30s. They can't afford the same lifestyle of just playing games all day. These are all ideas that have been trodden out before. And then there's ideas of reaction times, which I believe is unsupported. The idea of your reaction times getting slow as you get older. But evidence suggests, in terms of practically, that really young players tend to be really mechanical and good. And by really young, I mean like 19, 20, this kind of an age. And then older players who have been in the scene for a long time tend to not be really mechanically and good, and tend to be maybe smarter or develop builds and have different approaches, right? So let's consider someone like maybe a Snoot versus like, I don't know, someone, I can't think of a good example right now. But these kind of ideas, right? Now, there are all these exceptions. So you consider someone like Sue, who's fairly old. Reyna's probably pretty smart, though. But Reyna's not... Yeah. Oh, Lord. Okay, we're going to defend this. Okay, so this is my take, right? I'm going to use the analogy of learning a language. If you're a kid and you're learning a language... What the fuck? I'm gonna have to focus for a moment to defend this. I don't know if I need to make units to defend Dark Templars or not. Okay, this is really gonna interrupt my... Oh, he's full walled as well. How do I defend this? What do I do? Do I just counter? I think I just keep making units off 2 base, right? I might even go Banes. I'm gonna make Zerglings at home and just counter. Okay, well he morphed back here, so that's at least somewhat good, right? This is gonna really ruin my concept. Okay, so if you're learning a language, right? And you're a kid. Kids like just pick up language, right? Oh, kids learn languages so much better than adults. But I think what's really true is that kids learn language differently from adults, right? So when you're a kid, you can just kind of learn it through osmosis. And that just means just sitting there and hearing it and interacting with it, like through immersion and so on. But if you're an adult, you can learn a language quicker than a kid can, and you know, people think, oh, you won't, you'll have an accent, right? But if you really practice, you can get rid of an accent. It's just that it's work and requires. It requires you to. Okay, let's fight here first, and then we'll finish the thought. Okay, this guy's just trolling me. Okay. Okay. Stupid. What a crazy game. Alright, GG. The Banes were a good move. Even though I killed him anyway, probably without Banes, the Banes were good. Because he's gonna just build Immortals, and he's not gonna be building things that beat Banelings. Okay, so here's the idea, guys. If a kid learns a language through osmosis, through hearing it, watching, paying attention, right? And it takes them years and years and years. So to get to the level of fluency that most of us have as adults, we have the 12 years of schooling, which definitely helps. But even as a kid, you if you go talk to a 6-year-old, and a 6-year-old speaks. But, like, it's not an exaggeration to say if someone starts learning a language at, like, 22, they talk like a 6-year-old, you know what I mean? Or they talk like a 3-year-old. People will say that, right? And that's true. People do. But the difference is you don't have, like, 15 years. Or whatever point you reach a adult, maybe it's 12. Maybe a 12-year-old is a good, like, a good level of speaking. But if you really applied yourself and worked on it all the time, you could probably get to a really good level out of language in like 4 years, 5 years, or some number of years. I don't know what it is, but less time, efficiently. But it's going to require like planning, working, and then things like pronunciation and accent. You're going to have to practice and like learn. And there are some things you might not be able to pick up because there are some physical hearing differences, but maybe with time. I'm not 100% sure on the evidence on that one, but okay, let's apply this to StarCraft. I think the difference is that if you're like a 15-year-old playing StarCraft, you can to a degree just play and just pick it up, right? And so I think a lot of players, their method of practicing in StarCraft is to just play a lot. And that's like what you hear a lot. And if you're younger, that works well. But I think if you have like a fully developed brain, then your not advantage, but the way you learn, you cannot learn that way anymore, where you can just pick things up through time in a quick way. Like, it's just not going to happen. I can listen to as much K-pop as I want and watch as many K-dramas and whatever as I want, and I'm not going to be able to speak Korean, right? But if I go out and take a class and learn, I'll be able to speak Korean faster than any Korean child would, right? And that's the distinction, I think, is that as people get older, the way that they practice needs to evolve to support what makes sense. So, there are some differences, but what that means is, as a 20-year-old, which probably would learn a language the same way as like a 30-year-old, right? To some degree. But most of your skills are developed. So if you had someone who started at 15, most pro gamers start quite young. And then they're just maintaining their skills. And that's why you don't actually see pro gamers get that much better quickly, I think. I think that's fair to say. You tend to see people stuck in their habits. And you don't see people take long-term time spans, because most of us are stuck in, how can I win the tournament next month? Not, how do I break myself down and slowly build to like a 2-year goal? So if I had the goal of being fluent in a language in a month, the improvements I'm going to do are going to be different. Let's say I want to pass some high level of fluency test. that's going to take a different preparation if I'm trying to pass that in a month versus if I give myself 2 years. If I have like 2 years to plan and work out what to do, right, it's going to make more sense. So what happens is you get these players who learn how to play when they're young, and then they get old, and the only way they know how to get better is through just playing, but they don't, it doesn't actually work that way anymore for them, I believe. So my take is obviously not that you can't be like you can't learn how to be good at something with age, just that it's harder. It requires like planning and thinking about the game and thinking about how you're getting better. And as opposed to just naturally improving. So it's going to be more work, maybe. And by work, I mean like planning and so on. But if you do all that, you might actually be more efficient. I think that's my take, right? I also believe that the more commitments and so on is an important aspect. Like you can't live that lifestyle anymore. But let me, I had a thought I wanted to finish with it. Is that if you were learning a language, you would never go for a 1 month timeline. That was what I was talking about, right? You would give yourself the time because you understand that it's a very hard thing to do. So if let's say I'm me right now, I'm a 5.6. Okay, let's say me if I get back into form, play a lot, like in a few weeks, I'll probably be around a 6K Andy, okay? Around there. Maybe like a 5.9-ish. That's tends to be where it was. So last time I was playing frequently, which if we go to last season, that's where I ended, right? Was 5,900 I know you guys can't see that. 5,900 MMR. And so then if I get to that level and I'm saying I want to reach 7,000 MMR level, I want to be a pro player, then it's going to be different because that's not a 2-month goal. That's like a 2-year goal. But if I try and do it in 2 months, I'm going to go for these improvements. You need to go for a long-term approach because it's the equivalent of saying a kid can learn a language in a year, which they don't do, right? They take years and years and years and years to learn the language. Kids take years to learn languages. Now they pick stuff up very fast in a different way, right? Which is an advantage. It's easier and doesn't require like they can just do it. But if you're an adult, you should plan for that long time. Like you need to think about it that way. And the problem is like it's hard to do that in the scene. And got Quail saying in the chat, I don't think you're more efficient. Give a young kid a mixture of lots of practice and also good direction via coaching, and they'll improve faster than anything a 30-year-old can do. I don't believe that's true. I don't think so. Now, it may be because there's probably some neuroplasticity and cemented pathways when you're older, but I don't know if the evidence necessarily supports that. I'm not 100% sure. Now, there may be some evidence that neuroplasticity decreases with age, which like intuitively makes sense. But if you get, like, think about someone learning an instrument. I'm using these examples because these are things kids learn to do typically. If you're learning how to play an instrument, kids don't take super short time to learn an instrument. Kids learn an instrument over years through school, like or that age, right? You might start an instrument when you're 9, and then at 18 you're actually really, really good. But you didn't start at 16 or something. You started at 9, and then like you were probably okay at like 11, right, or 12, like, and then you got pretty good, but it's been years and years. Whereas if you were an adult and you had a structured and efficient practice, maybe you're not doing it in 2 years, but you could certainly do it very quickly, comparably quickly. That's the key distinction, right? And I believe that because you're an adult, you might not require the coaching. Like, you can be your own coach, or you can appreciate the difference, but you must take that approach, okay?